the past few months, there has been a significant intensification of the Russian Federation's special military operation in Ukraine. The geopolitical situation is evolving in Russia's favor due to the massive airstrikes that completely changed the course of the war, the firm stance of Russian diplomacy on the international stage, and the increasingly apparent deterioration in the Western Bloc's support for Ukraine. What's happening on the ground is no longer just about the fighting. It also shows Russia's clear superiority over the West's dwindling resources and Ukraine's collapsing defense industry, thanks to Russia's military technology, in-depth intelligence, and strategic patience. To announce this truth to the entire world, a series of historic operations took place in the sky in November 2025. This planned mass strike by the Russian army against the center of the country, including the Ukrainian capital Kyiv, was recorded as one of the largest and most effective air attacks since the beginning of the conflict. Ukraine's vital infrastructure, public facilities, energy networks, and most importantly, military-industrial facilities were targeted overnight by hundreds of unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, dozens of TOS-1A Solon Sepayok thermobaric rocket systems, and high-precision cruise missiles, including hypersonic missiles like the Kinjal. While these types of attacks are not new, the scope, intensity, and target selection of this operation confirmed Russia's recent strategy to systematically eliminate Ukraine's will and capacity to fight. The importance of these attacks is increasing as the winter months approach. The disruption of essential services like electricity, city heating, and clean water is no longer just physical destruction. It also creates psychological pressure on the Ukrainian army and citizens and social instability. Ukraine's limited air defense systems are insufficient to protect its major cities. However, each Russian attack forces Ukraine to use expensive interceptor missiles costing hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars, while the Russian army uses cheaper drones and ammunition. Therefore, an inevitable war of attrition broke out between the parties, which Ukraine ultimately lost. Russia has a clear advantage in terms of industrial capacity and resource wealth compared to the West's dwindling stocks and political will. Understanding which weapons Russia is using in the war is crucial to understanding the direction of the war. In first place is the Iskander-M, a short-range ballistic missile with high maneuverability. This weapon is targeting critical infrastructure, command centers, and strategic facilities deep within Ukraine. Secondly, the Kinjal hypersonic missile is being used against the most important targets. Launched from MiG-31 fighter jets, its extremely high speed makes it an almost impossible target for conventional air defense systems. The third weapon is the domestic versions of the Shahed drones made by Iran, thanks to Russia's industrial capacity. These cheap but effective drones are used to suppress and wear down enemy air defenses. Russia is systematically exhausting Ukrainian air defenses using two types of air defense vehicles, direct attack and decoy drones, forcing the enemy to fire more expensive interceptor missiles than itself. A fourth weapon is glide bombs, known as the UMPK, Universal Glider Munitions Module. These bombs can hit precise targets from a distance, away from the aircraft, without entering dangerous airspace. The targets of these bombs are barracks, ammunition depots, and military infrastructure. Heavy artillery systems, Smerch multiple launch rocket systems, T-80 and T-90 tanks, and armored personnel carriers continue to be key components of the Russian ground offensive, particularly in the Donbas and Zaporizhzhia regions. These weapons show that Russia relies on an extremely effective combination of modern and traditional weapons to suppress Ukraine's defenses. This combination is becoming increasingly deadly. The design of the attacks and the movement of Russian troops reveal several clear strategic objectives. The first and most important goal is to target Ukraine's energy and military-industrial infrastructure, which forms the basis of its war efforts, thereby reducing not only its military but also its social and industrial defense capabilities. These attacks, which are taking place in the middle of the cold season, are excessively increasing the pressure on the Ukrainian people. Secondly, Russia is pursuing a step-by-step and planned offensive strategy on both the eastern and southern fronts. Russia seems to be pursuing an unplanned victory. However, the war strategy involves gaining territory step by step to wear down Ukrainian defenses, strengthening logistics corridors, and continuously increasing pressure in specific regions like Donetsk and Zaporizhzhia. Thirdly, it is clear that Russia has been engaged in long-term attrition efforts. Russia aims to deplete Ukraine's defense resources and strain the budgets of Western allies by mass-producing inexpensive weapons such as glide bombs and drones. Military equipment, including air defense missiles, is being provided to Ukraine by Europe and the US. Russia will quickly gain operational advantages as international aid decreases. Ukraine's war power came to a standstill on the night of November 14th. A massive wave of Russian airstrikes hit major cities like Dnipro, Pavlohrad, Kryvyi Rih, Mykolaiv, Sumy, and Kherson, suddenly turning them into battlefields. This attack was recorded as over 45 heavy strikes and demonstrated Russia's determination in target selection. The roar of missiles speeding through the air tore through the sky over the Dnieper River in the darkness. Wave after wave of drones and high-precision missiles struck strategic points across Ukraine. This massive operation was clearly targeting the lifeblood of Ukraine's military-industrial complex. Long-range air and ground weapons and ruthless combat drones were used. This was no longer just retaliation. It was a planned, systematic, and brutal attempt to completely destroy the enemy's ability to fight. The Pavlohrad chemical plant and an ammunition storage facility, two key facilities playing a significant role in Ukraine's explosives and ammunition production, were shaken and destroyed. As flames and thick smoke rose into the night sky, they silently bore witness to the deadly accuracy of the Russian attacks. Damage to another important infrastructure facility near Sumy increased pressure on Ukraine's already strained logistics capacity. The capital, Kyiv, was known as a fortress of defense, but significant infrastructure, administrative centers, and production facilities suffered extensive damage. Every explosion in Ukraine not only destroyed physical infrastructure, but also significantly impacted the country's morale and operational capacity. Dnipro is the center of Ukraine's military industry, and industrial facilities and defense factories that have long represented national pride are key targets. The giant rocket and rocket engine manufacturer Yuzhmash was significantly damaged. Polymermash, which produces special equipment for the manufacturing and energy sectors, was affected by this attack. Zoraya Mashproekt, a manufacturer of gas turbine engines, was shaken by a precise strike in Mykolaiv. The Russian army also targeted mobile ammunition production facilities, robotic combat systems, interceptor UAVs, and reconnaissance and multi-purpose attack drones. This demonstrates Russia's superior intelligence capabilities and a good understanding of Ukraine's defense architecture, indicating a planned and comprehensive move to halt the progress of Ukraine's military technology. However, there's another factor that makes this wave of attacks particularly noteworthy. Russia's aim is not only to destroy, but also to weaken Ukraine's future military capabilities. The Russian army launched a comprehensive attack on Ukrainian defense industry facilities that played a significant role in the creation of the Sapsan missile system. Ukraine claimed that Sapsan could compete with and even surpass the US ATACMS system. During the tests, the Sapsan ballistic missile reached a speed of 6,300 kilometers per hour. While this is a surprising figure, it's important to remember that Russia's Iskander-M, which reaches Mach 6, approximately 7,350 kilometers per hour, is still slower, and this comparison is often overlooked in Western narratives. This comparison shows that despite Ukraine's efforts, it still lags behind Russia in missile technology. Russia moved quickly to neutralize it before it became a real threat on the battlefield. This is a result of the precise attack on the Sapsan facility. To understand the context of Sapsan, the two missiles frequently mentioned in these comparisons, the American ATACMS and the Russian Iskander-M, should be examined in more detail. Ukraine received the ATACMS missile. It is a long-range tactical ballistic missile for hitting high-value targets. Its range and the type of warhead it can carry depend on the variant. ATACMS is undoubtedly a powerful weapon and has given Ukraine the ability to strike important targets behind Russian lines. However, its claimed speed of Mach 3 shows its limitations when compared to advanced contemporary Russian air defense systems. Although fast, defense systems have enough time to react to this speed. The Iskander-M, developed by Russia, is a much more sophisticated tactical ballistic missile system. Traveling at Mach 6 speeds, they pose an almost unstoppable threat to conventional air defense systems. Iskander-M has the ability to avoid capture by changing its trajectory in the air. Additionally, it can carry a wide variety of warheads, such as thermobaric and bunker-busting, making it extremely versatile and deadly. The Iskander-M is far superior to the alleged capabilities of the ATAK-MS and Sapsan, providing Russia with a strategic advantage on the battlefield. It was clear to see how strained Ukraine's air defense system was as Russian missiles danced across the night sky. To stop the Russian attacks, everything from old Soviet systems to modern Western technologies was deployed. The Ukrainian air defense network, strengthened with the help of Western allies, is trying to create a shield over cities. Among the air defense systems currently used by Ukraine is the S-300, a long-range missile system dating back to the Soviet era. However, the medium-range Buk M1 missile system is quite mobile. From the West, it received an effective medium-range air defense system, the NASAMS, from Norway, Ukraine, and the United States. Additionally, the Iris-T-SLM from Germany is capable of intercepting aircraft and cruise missiles. The United States Patriot system is another system, one of the world's most advanced air defense systems, used to protect important assets. Despite this diversity of existing systems, their actions in the face of Russia's large-scale, coordinated, and multi-layered attacks are questionable. Air defense operators experience significant stress due to waves of missiles and drones coming from various directions and different altitudes. It is clear that many Russian missiles and drones continue to reach their targets, yet the public is frequently informed about high interception rates. Despite Ukraine's efforts to build a defense fortress, every destroyed military-industrial plant and factory stands as clear evidence that Russia has found ways to overcome this fortress. Russia still maintains control of the skies. Ukraine's current situation is a significant component of the future due to its status as a major ally of the country. While many still seem to be providing support, increasing domestic political and economic pressures are showing the limits of defense budgets. Many countries in Europe are forced to share their resources between domestic needs and foreign aid. Politicians and people in some countries are beginning to doubt how long this support can last. More and more people are believing that constant arms shipments are not a sustainable long-term solution. Alternatively, some governments are discussing establishing a direct arms industry in Ukraine to reduce shipping costs from abroad. Nevertheless, NATO and some European countries continue to officially express their full support. Military aid, soldier training, and economic packages are still being announced to the public. This indicates that support has not yet been definitively withdrawn, despite further signs of political and social fatigue. However, this dynamic is crucial because if international support begins to wane in the coming months, the strategic balance will shift much more clearly in Russia's favor. Russia surpasses Ukraine and its Western supporters in terms of resources, production capacity, and strategic courage. Each destroyed Sapsan missile, demolished ammunition factory, and silenced power plant is not just war wreckage, but also concrete evidence of Russia's significant role in shaping the future course of this conflict. BM-30 Smerch is one of the heavy multiple-launch rocket systems developed during the Soviet era with one of the widest area effects. With its 300mm rockets, it can impact an area the size of several football fields in a single salvo. Its munitions are produced by manufacturers operating under Rostec, a major force in the Russian defense industry. Smerch is highly effective at relocating within minutes after firing, helping it avoid counter-battery fire. With modern ammunition, its range can exceed 120 kilometers, keeping it relevant as a long-range artillery asset. It is also considered in the same class as its more advanced successor, the Tornado S ATACMS. Being a ballistic missile, delivers a single high-precision strike, while the Smerch is a multiple-launch rocket system designed for wide-area impact. While ATACMS can typically reach distances of up to 300 kilometers, Smerch remains around 120 kilometers with modern ammunition. Smerch affects a large zone with a salvo, whereas ATACMS is built to hit point targets with high accuracy. Because ATAC-MS is guided, it can be directed to its target through command and control systems, while Smerch rockets are mostly unguided. Smerch focuses on rapid firing and quick relocation, whereas the ATACMS platform launches a single missile intended for long-range precision operations. Additionally, ATACMS is used for strategic, high-value targets, while Smerch is preferred for tactical-level area suppression and artillery support. The T-80 tank stands out as one of the most agile armored vehicles of the Soviet era thanks to its gas turbine engine. Its modernized versions maintain a strong balance of speed and protection with a combination of composite and reactive armor. With its 125mm gun and advanced fire control system, it remains an effective platform on today's battlefield.